What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, we made it. It's 2021. We can finally say goodbye to 2020. And while I'm not going to say there's no possible way that 2021 can't be any worse than 2020, because I kept saying that with Cyberpunk, and well, we saw what happened with that one, I will say this, here's hoping that 2021 is a much better year for everyone. Today, we're going to go over several things that includes a custom PlayStation 5 system that is going to be apparently sold online in limited quantities. And while I think it looks really cool, I'm not really sure what anniversary they're celebrating. We'll talk about that here today. Also, Hollow Knight Silksong. That Edge magazine issue did come out. The cover looks amazing, and there is a lot of information in there, which includes one part that seems to be pointing to a release date coming up pretty soon. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Small Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with an update for a story that we talked about yesterday, which was that PlayStation Plus announcement for January. One game in particular, that being Maneater, I saw a lot of people comment saying they had just bought it and they feel kind of burned. And yeah, I've been there. You buy a game, and then 2 weeks later it gets added to Game Pass, or it's Games with Gold, or it's PlayStation Plus, and it's like, if I just waited like 2 weeks, I would have just been able to add it to my library without having to pay out extra money to actually buy the game. Because once you claim it with something like PlayStation Plus, it's just part of your library, like, for good. Well, it looks like Sony may have heard some of these complaints, or maybe got requested for like refunds since that happened. And it looks like they just automatically started refunding people, as some went to Reddit for the PlayStation Reddit and started posting this message up here. As a subscriber of PlayStation Plus, we will refund the purchase price of this product to your PlayStation Store wallet, as this is a PlayStation Plus monthly game. This will not affect your ability to play the game, as we have not removed the game from your library. Now, unfortunately, I'm not really sure what the window is. Like, if you bought it a week ago, maybe you'll automatically get this message when you turn your PlayStation on. Maybe it's 2 weeks, could even be a month. I mean, I feel like it's like within a week, but anytime before that, you might have to reach out to Sony yourself. And at this point, you might as well, since it looks like they at least recognize this as a situation that they wanted to act on right away automatically. Might be worth reaching out to them. But yeah, at least it's good for Sony to at least do this, because yeah, that is frustrating. You buy the game and then a week later, boom, there it is on PlayStation Plus. Also, we had Phil Spencer stop by Major Nelson's podcast to talk a bit about the Xbox Series X and the Series S, and some of the information was, I guess, interesting. It was smaller things like during some of his business meetings, he'll just be playing his Series S, which, I mean, yeah, he's the boss, so what are you going to say to him if you're an employee? You're going to tell him to stop playing his Xbox Series S? Probably not, but he also did talk a little bit about the supply chain overall for the Series X and the S. Spencer says in the podcast that it comes down to physics and engineering. The team is building consoles as fast as it can. In fact, a few days ago, Spencer thanked Xbox team members for working over the holidays, ensuring that things like Xbox Live are up and running. Now, I wanted to specifically bring this up because on the second channel, I talked about how I felt like resellers, scalpers, they're losing interest in the PS5, but definitely in the Series X. And I am starting to see restock happen for the Series S and the Series X a bit more frequently. Specifically this past week, I've started to hear more and more about them just popping up at Targets and Walmarts. And right now, if you go on like eBay, sold listings for the Series X, $650 and less at times, like with free shipping. There's not much margin there, especially when you take away the eBay fee and paying for shipping in some cases with this. I think the next big restock that's going to be happening in like the first half of January, I don't know if scalpers or resellers are going to touch it much at all. So hold out a little longer. I do think that we are going to see more and more Series X systems come in big waves here in the next 2 weeks. And I feel like they're just going to be more available at their MSRP. So just a little longer. Oh, and we did have another teaser for Stalker 2. I know a lot of people didn't play the original Stalker. I played it some. I thought it was kind of cool, but like to see the teaser for Stalker 2 here, and they said it's in-engine, and we've heard about that a few times, isn't it? And we believe, we're like, okay, maybe, I guess that's what it's going to look like, kinda. Well, you can see some of the teaser here, and they went over some of it, describing it, saying how the game actually feels. Fast-paced change of scenery, ominous landscapes, and the ever-present feeling of an inevitable danger accompanied by a barely distinguishable guitar soundtrack. And I do think it looks pretty cool, the teaser they put out, but again, it's small snippets, and I feel like we're gonna have to just see a bit more about this game. But here's the good news. There are some people who are questioning this, and they weren't 100% sure. It will be in Game Pass day one from what we're hearing. So that's good. You can just try it out in Game Pass when it drops, and a lot of people are going to be much more willing to try these kind of games out that might fly under the radar otherwise, because if you're like, oh, I gotta spend $70, I'll wait to see how it turns out, maybe wait for a price drop, or it's just in Game Pass. Well, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and download it and try it out. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with this custom PlayStation 5 console that was originally a mock-up on Reddit, which you can see here, and there are several images of it. And when I first saw it, I said, that's a cool looking kind of fan-made mock-up that was put up on Reddit. You know what? That would be a really neat PlayStation 5 to have, especially with that DualSense. Well, it turns out they are actually going to do this. Like, they're going to sell these in limited quantities. They have a full website that's set up right now under the name Supers. And they say, inspired by retro, limited production controllers and consoles created by nostalgic nerds. Reserve yours starting the 5th of January. Looks like they have a little email sign up there, which, all right. And then we do have at the bottom the DualSense, which I like the design of that DualSense. And sure, it's all matte black. It's gonna have kind of a two-tone black design anyway, with I think more of the outside being more of a grayish kind of a grayish black sort of. But we do have the different colored symbols there, which I really like that look, and then the colored PlayStation button in the middle there. Now, the DualSense they're gonna sell for $99, and it's limited to 500 units, shipping in late spring of 2021. And then we also have the console itself, and this is an interesting one. $649. Not like a massive markup there, I guess. I mean, if you think about it, that's what, from $500 to $649, so $149 difference there. And they're gonna have 304 of these. So I am curious where they're getting 304 PlayStation 5 consoles from. And I'm also curious about the design for this thing, because at the bottom, it has a little badge. It's like 30th. And if it'd be for the PlayStation, what, the PS2 was, 20 years ago? And then we have the PlayStation 1, which was like 25 or 26 years ago. So nothing like PlayStation-wise, I guess, would be 30 years yet. But sure, it looks cool with the PlayStation logo there at the bottom, like the colored PlayStation logo that is from the PS2. This thing just looks like it's more PS2 themed. And like I said, I like the look of it. I'm just curious on how well they'll be able to deliver over 300 of these units. I mean, the big thing here is it's mostly done on the outside shell itself. So if they get it and they're able to paint it up and put that little badge on the bottom and then have that little PlayStation symbol that's pulled off of like a PS2 console or something, yes, you could dress up and it would look really good. The DualSense is the one that I'm most interested in, because I'll probably get my own faceplates for the PS5 and dress it up myself, but I don't know if I want to sit there and do all of that work to the DualSense. But I'll keep an eye on this one. It's going to be very limited, so I can't tell people to go do this because I don't know if they'll be able to deliver. I'm just gonna keep an eye on it to see how things go, specifically with that DualSense, and I guess even the system. Quick update, further down in the Reddit thread that did have that render initially shown, they did say, inspired by the PS1 themed 20th anniversary PS4 console, if Sony were to produce a limited edition PS5 to celebrate the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, it would be due sometime in 2024. So this is just basically an idea of something that they would come out with years from now, and they're just kind of getting ahead of the curve. So mystery solved. Next up, let's talk about Hollow Knight Silksong. We had talked previously that Edge Magazine was going to release the issue at the end of December on the 31st, and they did, and it looks really, really cool. I think they have two different covers, actually, one for subscribers and one for, I guess, just at retail, but check this out. I really like this cover here. Both the retail and subscriber covers feature brand new pieces designed by Team Cherry's art director. Here's a look at the glorious subs cover arriving on doorsteps. I love the red with kind of the white contrasting there. I think it looks awesome, but a lot of info did come out of this magazine here, and quite a bit of it has to do with the overall design of the game, like Hornet's height and speed define substantially the game's world side, complexity, and intelligence of enemies. You spend more time either at full health or almost dead, and the gameplay is kind of snapping between those two states. Healing in battle becomes more like a beat in the dance, letting players to take the decision instead of having the enemies doubling over for the obvious chance in healing. And of course, Hornet spending time in that cage at the beginning makes her lose her traditional powers, having to restore them through the course of the game. Very Metroid Prime-like there, Metroid there. And then the big one, however, is that Team Cherry's next game after Silksong will be unrelated to Hollow Knight. It looks like they're already working on it in an initial stage. And that's the thing that really got people interested. It's like, well, hold on, we've been waiting to just see Hollow Knight Silksong in like a direct, right? Like, oh, it just shows up. Maybe at this point, Silksong could be one of the big anchors even in a direct. Even if it's like a partner showcase or a mini, you could close out with Silksong and people would be really excited for that. But we've been waiting a about like, okay, when is the game actually going to come out though? A lot of us are believing, yeah, 2021, that makes sense. But if they're already like thinking of the next game and they've even started like initial plans for it, you figure if they're moving on from Silksong in that direction, they're like, oh, we're gonna do something completely different, which that'll be really cool to see what Team Cherry comes up with after Hollow Knight here. Does that mean that Silksong is like towards the back end of its development and it's polishing and it's almost ready to go? It sounds like it. And based on a lot of the info here, this game sounds way more ambitious than I think a lot of people were expecting when we first heard about Silksong. Exciting, exciting stuff. And you know what? I don't collect a lot of magazines, but just the overall art on the front of that Edge magazine really, it makes me want to grab this. It's for subscribers only though for Edge, for that red front that I really like. So I'll have to see if I can find one. I'm sure people like sell them on eBay or something. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll subscribe to Edge just to get this one, but really cool stuff there for Hollow Knight Silksong. Make sure you read through it. It was a good read, ton of info there for all of you out there who are still waiting for this game to show up in a direct or just even online on YouTube. Next up, let's talk about Pokemon in space. They had a full collaboration, full live stream that happened where they had the International Space Station and they had some Pokemon kind of thrown in there through augmented reality. I believe they had like a Rayquaza that kind of flew around in space, which is interesting. But leading up to this, there was like an announcement that they were going to be doing something there. And immediately everyone was like, wait a minute, is this where they are going to reveal the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake? Seriously, there was a lot of speculation leading up. I mean, we had expectations that were sky high, all the way to space even. And then none of that really happened, and a ton of disappointment followed after that. But at least something did technically come out of this. A special Pikachu gift is being given over mystery gift for all players of a Pikachu. Runs until January 15th, 2021. This followed directly after the Space Sunrise Live 2021 live stream that took place. And yeah, I know it's not like the big game reveal that people are waiting for with Diamond and Pearl showing up, but I mean, it's at least something for Sword and Shield players right now. However, they're gonna reveal this game. Like, look, the biggest thing right now, the rumor is around these different remakes, and I think it does make a lot of sense, but it didn't make a lot of sense for me to reveal it here. We didn't see the Pokemon company advertise this much at all. Nintendo wasn't mentioning it. Remember, a lot of times if there is like a big Pokemon Direct, you'll see all these different Twitter accounts and companies talk about it, tweet about it, say, hey, make sure you go check this one out. It might be really, really good. So I believe in like the first month or two, they probably will have some sort of direct that's just for Pokemon. Because remember, it's the 25th anniversary, and that seems like a much better place to announce these different games that they're gonna have. Pokemon Sleep, whatever happened to that? Maybe some games even for the Switch that are like from like Pokemon Red or Blue, or maybe they throw that on the Switch. Pokemon Snap. There's a lot of stuff they want to talk about, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense for them to do something like the International Space Station to announce Diamond and Pearl there. But either way, there we go. There's a Pikachu out there for Sword and Shield owners, and we'll look forward to the beginning of this year to see what they have for us for Pokemon through 2021 and the 25th anniversary. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Amazon Top 10 from 2020 for games sold. And there were a lot of questions all the time. Whenever Nintendo runs a sale on their first party stuff and it's like 20% off, you're like, great, this should be amazing. I'll get some games really, really cheap. And like Breath of the Wild is $48. And you're like, why? Why is it still so expensive? Well, if we take a look at the Amazon Top 10, that'll pretty much answer your question for you. We can see at the top, we had Animal Crossing New Horizons, that's physically. Then we had Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing New Horizons Digital, Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4, Ring Fit Adventure, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Last of Us Part 2, and then The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yes, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a game that came out a month after the Switch came out, is number 3 on the Amazon US bestsellers list for 2020. Yeah, so you kind of look at this and say, well, these games are obviously selling for Nintendo. In fact, in the UK, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in 2020 sold better than it did in 2019. So like they were trending upwards for a game that's about to be, what, 4 years old soon? And yeah, they're gonna keep selling it at 60. They'll pack it in with a system for like a Black Friday sale, but they're not gonna drop the price on these games unless they just start to kind of phase out and stop selling. That's typically when they'll do it, is try to raise excitement and interest in it by making it $20. But I still think games like ARMS or 1-2 Switch could end up in the Nintendo Selects section, maybe in the 5th year of the Switch as we're heading into that after March. So we can look forward to something like that. But honestly, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or Breath of the Wild might be 60 all the way until they stop selling the Switch. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Throggy saying, I'm still shocked that Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games haven't come to the Nintendo Switch online service. The Switch is literally a hybrid system. Why not put all of their older handheld games on the Switch? Oh wait, this is Nintendo we were talking about. Their logic isn't the same as ours. So I think right now Nintendo is really walking this tightrope with their online service, because originally they had the Super Nintendo and Nintendo games they had Nintendo games thrown on there. And I believe the reason they really did that is because they looked at this and said, is our online service really worth $20 on its own? Probably not. Get some Nintendo games, throw them on there. And then they kept adding and adding, and they added the Super Nintendo games, add some more there. And now they're looking at it and they're like, wow, we have a lot of games on there for $20 a year right now. That's not something Nintendo typically does, because they're all about keeping the value of their IPs and their games in the long run, like we just talked about with Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still being $60 games in 2021. So I feel like if they started dropping Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games, it would make the situation even stranger for Nintendo when it comes to devaluing their IPs and all this. Would I like to see it? Yes. Will it happen at $20 per year? Probably not. They're going to introduce, I'm sure, a higher tier, or they'll break this off, like this collection of retro games off of the online service, and it'll become its own Game Pass-like service with all of Nintendo's legacy games, which will probably increase their ability to do so if it's $10 a month, and then you might see Nintendo 64, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and all these other things being added in there, because instead of 20 a year, all of a sudden it's 120 a year. Oh, that's actually a good one. Would you pay $120 a year, $10 a month effectively, if Nintendo had an application that had all of their previous systems on there, which would include GameCube? I will throw GameCube in there, and they were adding a few here and there per month. Think of like Game Pass sort of, but with all of Nintendo's games and maybe some third parties that they pull in. Would you pay that? And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whether it's the PlayStation 5 custom system that's very PS2 themed, and what about Hollow Knight Silksong? I've been waiting forever for information on it. Got the big blowout in Edge magazine. And do you think this game is maybe first half of 2021? I'm kind of thinking so, and maybe it'll pop up in like an indie direct, or maybe it really does go full-on partner showcase and it's like the one more thing for that presentation. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.